Welcome to Master Gardening. I'm your host, Bud Qualk, and we're here at the University of Kentucky's McCracken County Extension Office. We're here with the Master Gardeners, and they're putting on one of their toolbox gardening programs. The subject, aquaponics, hydroponics, aquaponics. What's the difference? Is there? We're going to find out. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I am Tammie McCullough, West Kentucky Aquaponics. When we first started our business, I wanted to have a mission statement. If you go on our website and look at my background, I am a registered nurse, and coming from the hospital and medical background, I feel like that everybody needs a mission statement. So I created our mission statement because that says, what we want to do. So we want to grow high quality produce and fish in a controlled greenhouse environment using high-tech agriculture and to provide education regarding aquaponics. So that was what we set out to do, and that is what we're doing. So we are fulfilling our mission statement. This is us, everybody that works and owners, I guess you would say. This is my husband, Steve McCullough, and then of course myself, and then that's my dad, Tim Watkins. And so we three are owners, and I was actually a business partner with my husband before we were married. So we're all 1/3 owners, and then on the end there is my son, Tyler McKenty, and he is our greenhouse operations manager. So people always ask me when they come to the greenhouse, how did you get started doing this? And so Steve and I, you can tell we like to hunt, but we got together about 5 years ago. And when we first got together, we talked about how we had always wanted to own our own business. And if you ask my dad, I drove him crazy because I wanted to have a pumpkin patch. I wanted to have flip houses. I wanted to have a corn maze, not necessarily something agriculture, but I just had a strong entrepreneurial spirit that I wanted to act on, I guess. And so when Steve and I got together, we were talking about those things. And one night he brought out a binder where he had taken an aquaponics master's class. And so I was looking through that binder just very quickly, and I knew immediately that this is what we want to do. No one else is doing it in this area. It's sustainable year-round, no herbicides, pesticides, and people want to know where their food comes from now. So we were all excited. This is what we decided to do. So then we contacted my dad. He had retired twice. He worked at Air Products in Calvert, and then he retired, and then he went to work for the State Road Department, and then he retired. And I thought, well, he wants to stay busy. So I said, hey, you want to do this with us? So we had the land. We live right there in Draftonville where the aquaponics greenhouse is, and so we decided that that's what we would do. We would put it there in between our two houses, very convenient. And then so that's how we got started. And then we asked Tyler, this is Tyler, he played soccer for 4 years at St. Catherine College in Bardstown, just right outside of Louisville. And so he had always told me that he was going to be a stay-at-home son. And so he went to college those 4 years, and sure enough, he came right back. I had my stay-at-home son. But he was trying to decide what he wanted to do, and in the meantime, while he was trying to make that decision, he was working as a plumber. And so with his experience in plumbing, we were able to put together our entire greenhouse, which I do, have some pictures later on to show you. And so anyway, and he hates it when I say that, but I can say he's not a stay-at-home son anymore. he got married. He's been married for a couple of years now, but so that's how we all got started. The timeline here, it took us a little while to get going, because there are so many things information that you have to gather for even just for the greenhouse. They wanted the snow load information, and we had to get our water tested, and just all sorts of things. So we attended the Aquaponics Masterclass together in January of 2017. We worked all of that year to get all of that information together. And then in January of 18, we started construction on the greenhouse. We did not build the greenhouse structure ourselves. We had someone come in and do that. It took them about 4 months, and so about April is when we started with the electricians, and nobody had done anything like this in our area, so nobody knew how to bid the job. So we did that by time and materials, which I learned is not the way to go, but that's the only way we could get it done. The electricians did a fantastic job. It's also neat, and everything works exactly as it should. So it did take them a few months to do that. Meanwhile, we were putting our system together. And so we finally got our first fish in August of the end of 18, and then you have to go through what's called the aquaponic cycle, and I'll get into that. And so we did not start selling produce until January of 19. We are happy to say that we are featured on the Kentucky Agritech website. One day we were working in the greenhouse, and one of our helpers got a phone call from her mom, and they said, Governor Beshear is talking about you all, talking about the greenhouse. I'm like, well, I had no idea. So, we turned it on, we found where he was talking about us, and it was because of the high-tech agriculture, because we have what's called a Wadsworth system. And we have a weather vane that's outside on the top of our greenhouse. So that weather vane can communicate with that system. It can tell the system if it's raining outside, so it needs to shut the roof vents. It can open the roof vents, open and close the sides, open up the shades, close the shades. If there's problems with the water flow, we get phone calls from the greenhouse telling us, that something is not correct. So. We try to do a lot with high tech. We have now started using a water tester that will test the water as it flows through, and then that will feed into our software that we have. So we're trying to utilize a lot of technology. We also run the greenhouse on solar. So we were mentioned again by Governor Beshear's office. And we're also happy to say that this year we were able to have our local Farm to Fork dinner, and the Benton Partnership named us Agribusiness of the Year. So we're just now starting our third year into selling, so we're pretty proud to achieve those accomplishments. So now getting into aquaponics. Some people don't really know what aquaponics is. A lot of people know about growing in water and about hydroponics. So aquaculture is where you just raise fish, and then hydroponics is where you just grow leafy green vegetables in water. And when you use the hydroponics, your fertilizer comes from liquid fertilizer that you have to add to the system. So aquaponics is the combination of those two things. And so our fertilizer comes from the fish waste. Now, some people thought when we first started, we were telling them about it, that the fish were with the lettuce, and and that they're not together. Again, I have some pictures to show you. The tanks up toward the front of the greenhouse have the fish. Their waste goes through a process, and it's not the solid waste; it's what's left over after that. So no waste ever comes in contact with the lettuce, and then it's just dispersed throughout the system. This is a little kind of crude drawing. It shows the plants on top, that is of the fish. In this drawing, that is not the case, because if you had the fish below the plants, they are, we use tilapia, and they are herbivores, and they would eat your roots, and you wouldn't have any lettuce. But so that it kind of shows the way that the water flows through from the fish tanks through, it makes the conversion, and then it's a closed loop system. So I mentioned when it took us a while, we got our fish in August, but we didn't have any produce until January. The reason for that being is you have to go through what's called the aquaponic cycle. So we got our fish, they're eating, doing well, and the water is circulating, and they begin having their waste. The fish excrete ammonia or urinate through their gills, and then they have their solid waste. Well, what happens is they start having that ammonia, and it builds up in the system because there's not any bacteria established to eat that down yet. So we have an ammonia spike, and then this probably lasted for about a month. We would come in the morning and have some dead fish, and that's because the ammonia is toxic to the fish. And so we start getting concerned a little bit. We're new at this. We don't know what we're doing. And we send our water out for a formal analysis, and the results come back. It matches exactly what we have. And so, okay, well, then when we're testing, then we start seeing nitrite. So the ammonia goes away. We start getting more bacteria established in the system that makes that conversion, and it changes it from ammonia to nitrite. Again, nitrite is toxic to the fish. So coming in every morning, and we are having a few more dead fish. We're questioning ourselves, and you've spent all this money up front, and we're just ready to go. We want to start growing lettuce, and all we have is dead fish. So eventually, it took about 2 months, and that was a long 2 months. It doesn't sound like it, but like I said, we're ready to go. And then eventually that last conversion is the nitrate, and that's what the plants need to grow. Once you go through that, you don't have to go through it again, but it does take time. There are, I know some aquaponic growers that you can buy microbes to put into your system to try to jumpstart it. We didn't do that. We thought it was best kind of to let nature take its course. I'm not saying, that is something that you shouldn't do, but I did have another aquaponics person contact me, and they had done that, and it seemed to work really well right away, but then I don't know if the microbes went away, if they died off or whatever, and then it just seemed to be more trouble than it was worth. So again, we just kind of let it happen on its own, and we don't have to go through that anymore. Just a few aquaponic facts. It's not a new form of agriculture. You can see my picture, I've got it in dirt. We don't have any dirt in the greenhouse at all, just because of the pests and things that it brings in with it. Everything is grown in water. I don't know if this is an accurate, or how accurate this depiction is, but the Hanging Gardens of Babylon back in Bible times, that was a form of aquaponics. I always, remember reading how, the vegetation was just growing over, and the water, was around the bottom. Also, the Aztecs. I kind of laugh at myself now. I don't guess I was very interested in social studies when I was in high school, but I do remember seeing a picture like this, where they were growing their produce and crops out in the water. It never occurred to me how they were able to grow that, but it was because of the fish swimming around the bottom and getting the fertilizer from that. So again, it's not new, just not a traditional form of agriculture, although it is getting to be very popular today. Some more facts. Traditional agriculture, such growing in dirt, uses 20 times the amount of water, and it takes 27,000 gallons to irrigate 1 acre of land. We have 19,000 gallons of water in our big commercial system, which is a 6500, and we only lose about 1 to 2% of water a day, and that's to evaporation. So, if you come in the greenhouse and you see all the water and it's running and circulating through, you might think that we might have a very high water bill, and we really don't. It's about this, so we get our water bills every 2 months. I think it's about $60. So we don't use very much water at all. And we happen to be blessed. We are on municipal water, and we have very little chlorine and 0 chloramine. So therefore, when we do have to add water back, we don't have to put a chlorine filter on it for the fish, because the amount is so low and it dilutes very quickly. Also, spacing. You can grow in 1/4 of an acre in aquaponics what it takes an entire acre for traditional agriculture. And again, it's just because of the spacing. We're able to, put the boards in. They are styrofoam grade or food grade styrofoam to put the lettuce in, and the spacing is just right so the head can reach its full potential. But we're able to get 18 heads on one board. Some other facts: we have the controlled climate year round. Right now, it's a little tough to try to keep it controlled as far as the temperature, but it's what the fish can withstand. The lettuce likes it a little colder, and the fish like it just a little warmer. So we try to keep that balance. That last year we were trying to, our first winter, we were trying to keep it where it was comfortable to us, 70 degrees. And it's really not necessary because we have heaters on the tank, and our electric bills were so high and our gas bills were so high that we found that we don't have to keep it quite that warm. And especially on those sunny days, it heats up really quickly in there. So we keep all the sides closed, the shades closed, just to try to keep that warmth in there. Again, the closed circuit system, it just continues to flow in a circle, and we don't lose any water. We have a premium product because the lettuce isn't like soil-grown lettuce. It's not competing for minerals in the dirt, and it's not competing with weeds. And we don't have deer and rabbit and everything coming to try to make a meal. So we do have a premium product, and we're able to do the same thing year-round. So we don't have any price fluctuation. Like you might see, I've heard, I haven't really priced it myself, but right now trying to get like off of a Cisco truck or different companies that deliver lettuce, I've heard that their prices, have just gone way up. Well, we keep our prices the same because we do the same thing year round, same quality, same everything. And then we also have a longer shelf life because we do not put anything on those plants. The only input that we have into the system is the fish food. And so we don't put any herbicides, pesticides, preservatives, anything like that. So when you get it in your container, if you buy it from the store, buy it from us, we have had people tell us that it lasted a month. I haven't had it last quite that long, but it does last for quite a long time, maybe a couple of weeks. And even after it starts getting old, it doesn't get that brown, nasty looking. It just kind of deflates. It gets kind of flat. But I had some the other day that was about 2 weeks old, and it was still crunchy. I just left it in my salad spinner in the refrigerator, and it was still good. For a long time, up until about a year ago, we technically couldn't call ourselves organic because to use the term organic, you have to grow in soil, and we have no soil. Even though we're completely organic, we could not use that term. The USDA is just now starting to recognize aquaponics as organic, and it is a certification that you can get. It costs several $1,000s, and I don't think, we haven't been asked about it, and I don't really know that it has a benefit to us in particular. We are still able to sell to, large, chains, and they have not asked us for that. Certified Naturally Grown is another certification that you can get, and it's more cost effective for like small farmers like us. Someone does come to the greenhouse and check, what we're doing and make sure that we're not using anything that we shouldn't be using. Of course, if we did, it would kill our fish. So, but anyway, so we are certified naturally grown. We are USDA Harmonized GAP certified. We will be recertifying in February with the USDA. Someone again comes to our greenhouse and does an inspection on us. The GAP is Good Agricultural Practices, and that is from a food safety standpoint. And again, we're not required to have this. Now, some of the people that we've recently started selling to, such as school systems, and we sell to Schnucks in St. Louis, their grocery store chain. So they do require you to have that, but that is something that we wanted to do anyway because we wanted to show our customers that we hold ourselves to a higher standard and when it comes to your produce safety, so you can trust that you're getting, good, safe produce from us. And another point about the lettuce, people always talk to us about E. coli on the, and it always seems to be on romaine. I don't understand why it's just, it's the romaine, but it could be on any lettuce. But the way that you get E. coli is a couple of ways. First of all, if you're planting in dirt and you've used compost that hasn't let sit long enough, and that has to be turned over, at certain times, and but before you can use it. So not letting the compost sit long enough, and then unfortunately, people not washing their hands, and I've heard. Supposedly true stories that sometimes the pickers just will use the bathroom right there in the field. So that is the way that you can get E. coli. We wash our hands, obviously, and we always wear gloves when we're harvesting. And then also fish are cold-blooded, so therefore they don't have that E. coli coliform in their GI tract. So you should never, I won't say ever, but you should never have a problem with E. coli from our lettuce. You can know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So our greenhouse, we have the 6,500 system. We also have a nursery, which is 6 50-gallon tanks, and that's where we start our fish out. And then we move, they grow out there until they're about 3 months old, about 45 grams in weight, and then we'll move them over to the big system. We can harvest about 250 heads of lettuce a day. So we've had some restaurants, approach us. They've come to the greenhouse and they look, and it's an 8,000 square foot greenhouse. But when you look at it, it's so compact. They're, oh, well, you can't supply us. You don't have enough. They don't realize, the volume that we're still not at capacity yet, and we have quite a few customers. We can harvest about 200 tilapia a month. We're actually more on about every 6 to 8 weeks rotation. So what we'll do, we'll harvest harvest a tank, and then when I harvest a tank, I order new fish, which they come in as fingerlings, and then we will start them so we can keep that on a rotation, and that way we have consistent harvest. As I've mentioned, our main produce is the fancy heirloom lettuce, and we also do a few herbs. When we started our greenhouse, we grew everything, and what I mean by everything is literally almost everything. We had purple cauliflower, I had sweet banana peppers and bell peppers and jalapeno peppers. We had some eggplants and some strawberries, tons of tomatoes and things, and we were growing those in our media beds. So those aren't the float beds, but they're like a flood and drain system, and they did very well. They tasted well, but the demand for kale is so crazy around here. Like, we had no idea, and most people grow, around here, they grow their own tomatoes in the summer anyway. So we took all of that out since we couldn't produce enough to sell on a commercial basis, and we put all of those beds in kale. So if you visited our greenhouse previously, it looks a little different now because we got rid of all those things and we're just focusing on the kale and the lettuces and a few herbs. And this is what our greenhouse looks like, an aerial view. We have that's 4 64-foot grow beds, and if you can see, each one of those rafts holds 18 heads. So when we're completely full, we have about over 11,000 heads of lettuce growing. And this is a different view. This is our 6,500 system. We have the fish tanks. It's over here. I don't know if this will work. Yeah. This is the fish tanks on the outside. We have the clarifiers in the middle. These 3 here are called clarifiers. That board in the middle there is called a baffle board. There's nothing else in these tanks except the plumbing that comes in, and but what they do, the solid waste comes into those tanks there. They are cone-shaped on the bottom, and that baffle board doesn't go all the way to the bottom, so it naturally forces those solid waste to stay on the bottom, and then the rest of the water flows through, and it flows through. These are 2 mineralization tanks here, and what happens there, there's not any air going in there, so you get anaerobic anaerobic bacteria, and we have some netting, and that bacteria grows on that netting, and as that water comes through with that ammonia and nitrite, that bacteria, which it looks nasty to me, and my husband calls it aquaponic gold, but that is making the conversion from that ammonia to nitrite to nitrate, and then the water flows on out through, there's a sump or a degassing tank here, and then it flows through the beds, it crosses in the back, comes up these outside two beds, and then back to the tank, and then there's an inline heater that warms the water back up before it goes back to the fish. So, and then I mentioned the anaerobic bacteria. The beds have air going to them, and of course the fish tanks have air going to them. So throughout the rest of the system, you get aerobic bacteria. So there are multiple types of bacteria that are growing. There have even been studies done that have found different types of bacteria that haven't been identified previously that have been identified in aquaponics. Here's another look, another view kind of from up top, the same tanks there. And this is what the tanks look like. And we have the window there. Of course, it's nice, you know, when people come in to be able to see the fish, but it does serve, that window serves a purpose, you know, we're able to see the fish. And when we feed them, to make sure that, you know, if they eat all of their food, or, you know, if they're not swimming exactly right, you know, we can just keep an eye on them. Thankfully, we don't have any problems, but that's what the window is for. So what we offer as a greenhouse, we sell wholesale to restaurants, grocery stores, and schools. And we also sell out of our greenhouse. You can come, and we have a storefront on the front of the greenhouse where you can come and buy directly from us. We also have online sales. We don't get that utilized a whole lot. Some of our people that buy from us, you know, they either like to call us directly or text us, which that's fine. You know, we'll take orders anyway. But I will tell you, I was glad we already had the online sales in place when COVID came, because people did utilize it a lot then, and we were able to do, you know, almost contactless customer service, and so much so that we didn't even qualify for some of those PPP loans or grants for small businesses, because we did see so much growth. So we were thankful for the customers and thankful that we had a way to be able to serve them. And then we also do agritourism. We have lots of, you know, groups like your alls that come to the greenhouse, and school groups, and lots of interest there. We've also started doing consults. I never knew, again, that I was going to be an aquaponic consult, but people started calling us, and it's not so much that we're necessarily experts, but we're experts on doing it on a, you know, living it day to day. And so some of the companies that will sell you the aquaponics and things, and you know, the systems, not that they don't know, but you know, I found that people are wanting to, you know, hear from you know, growers who are doing this day in and day out. So I decided to kind of, you know, just go with it. So I do a consult tour for people that are thinking about going into an aquaponics business. I've had people from Miami, North Carolina. I've had about 3 different groups from Tennessee, Arkansas. There's a school in Arkansas that they are going to start doing this in their school. So we just like to help people and help them get started. We want people to be successful. And then I also created a day in the life of an aquaponic farmer. So if you're getting ready to get your system and you want to come and work hands-on, you can do that with us and actually, you know, see what it's like and get ready for your system. Here's a list of our current customers. Here in Paducah, we have Midtown and Banks. I just delivered to them this morning. We have, as you can see, several around. Our biggest in quantity is probably Schnucks in St. Louis. Someone had contacted us, and we've been delivering to them for over a year. We'll take about 600 heads. They like the Butterhead, the Rex Butterhead. And then we have just taken on Bowling Green Independent Schools, and we have Mayfield Schools, and you can see a few other locals here. But we always have room. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I put Sorays. I haven't added Sorays events. Caterers have started using us as well. Just a little bit on the pros and cons of starting an aquaponic business. I'll be positive and start with the pros first. It's sustainable, so able to do this, like I'd mentioned before, year-round. And the high-quality produce. And you also get a benefit of the fish sales. The produce is the main focus for us, but we do sell the fish as well. And the consumer interest, like I mentioned before, has just gone up. I think COVID has made people think about it, and so the interest has really gone up. And it's a pleasant work environment. I don't, I walk to work every day, and you walk in and it's warm and you hear the water running. I'm with my family. Nobody gets mad at me about lettuce. And so it's very pleasant. It doesn't seem like work. And some of the cons, like I'd mentioned before, the upfront cost to get it going, of course, the facility and the system, and then waiting to make money, that is a downside of aquaponics, and it's probably one of the biggest reasons that people don't get into it. And again, operating up to 6 months with no income. The utility cost, have been crazy. When we first started, we got all excited and we turned on our grow lights, and we have 64 of them, and I didn't know what a demand meter was, and so we flipped those things on. Draftonville was glowing, and then I started getting a bill every month. We had 3 meters, and I started getting a bill every month that for one of them was $500. We never turned that on again, but once you turned it on and hit that demand, they bill you every month. So I had that taken out, and that's when we got the solar. And it does require 7 days a week. We're not open on the weekends. We have tried to be, but we just didn't have enough customers coming in. But we like to all travel together and go out of town, and it wasn't like we didn't know that it was 7 days a week, but it really didn't hit us until we all wanted to go on that first hunting trip together. And it's like, who's going to feed the fish? And we're not harvesting on the weekends, but somebody still has to feed the fish, and you have to empty a clarifier. So it does tie you down a little bit. But like I'd mentioned, there are ways that you can cut costs, and I do that by researching, my supplies. I'm always trying to cut costs, but not quality. And I don't ever want to skimp on quality. So this is a picture of the grow lights that I had mentioned. These are halide lights. People are using LED, but they are way more expensive. And for the cost for these, and then plus they give off heat, so it helps to warm the greenhouse at night. So it's kind of multifunctional for us. So that's why we went with these. But you can use the LED. And I mentioned that one bill, the electric bill, was just for the 1 meter was $500. The electric bill was about $2,500 a month at first. Of course, that's not sustainable. That's not doable at all. We always knew that we wanted to do solar, and so we got our solar panels in February of 20. Applied for a REAP grant through the USDA and was awarded that to help offset some of the cost. So this is a picture of our solar panels, and great investment if you don't have solar or you're thinking about doing it for your house. The panels are guaranteed for 25 years, and it's just definitely worth it. Also, we are connected with what's called SREC Trade. And so I will go out every month and just read the meters from the solar panels, and then I'll just plug those numbers into this website, and then people will buy those credits. Now, say TVA wanted something in their portfolio that said that they were green. Well, they can buy those credits from us. They're not actually buying the electricity itself, but they are stating that they are participating with someone who is providing green energy. So that's something that we really didn't know about. It's the credits really aren't that much around here, but now other places they can get up to $200 and $300 a credit. You know, like New York and California and places like that. But it's kind of a little extra income, nice to have. For our marketing, we do social media, and I have some pamphlets. We did a TV commercial here with Channel 6. I used to go to farmers markets. I used to come, well, no, I went to a couple, but the main one I came here to in Paducah. And then it got to where it was more trouble, really, than it was worth. But I made lots of good connections. I know I've seen some of you all there. And so we're no longer doing the farmers markets, but we do open the greenhouse a half a day in the summer, so we can try to be available. I try to participate in organizations and doing speaking engagements such as this, just so we can educate people on what aquaponics is. And I'm a member of Kentucky Women in Ag, and you do not have to be a farmer to be in that group, but I went to my first conference, and it's just an amazing group of women. So if any of you are ever interested in that, they are just amazing. We are also members of Kentucky Proud. We really try to promote the Kentucky Proud. I know you're probably all aware of that incentive to buy local, and our restaurants that buy from us, they get 15% back from the state if they're members of Kentucky Proud, and because we're members just for buying local. So it's a great incentive. We all the schools that we're delivering to are also participating in the Kentucky Proud program, the Farm to School, and they get grants to be able to buy local food and produce for those schools. This is a picture when I told you that we grew everything at first. This is a picture of a basket. My son just took it, and I just thought it was so pretty. It was so colorful. We did not change the color on it at all, and every thing that you see in that basket was grown out of our greenhouse. And there's the tilapia fish. These are Nile tilapia. We get them from Americulture. They are an aquaculture place in New Mexico. I get them from there just because that's where we started with, and we've had zero problems. The fish are very healthy and do very well. We do have two different colors. This one's called a pearl, and then some of the darker ones are called just a dark. I like to get a variety just because I think they're pretty. But the reason we chose tilapia is because they are the hardiest and they grow out the quickest. You can use any type of fish. Actually, some people start their systems off when they're going through that aquaponic cycle. They will start it off with goldfish, and they call them sacrificial fish because they know that they're going to lose some of their fish. And but again, the tilapia, it seems to be the most common. I know that Stevens Point, Wisconsin, they have trialed walleye, but they have to be kept in the dark. It takes them a year to grow out, and they fight with each other and eat each other. So you can do catfish. Like I said, just any type of fish would work, but these grow out in about 6 months to about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds harvest size. And Commissioner Quarles has been to our greenhouse a couple of times. You know, he was a traditional farmer, and so he wanted to feed the fish. He was kind of impressed with what we were doing. And these are just some other pictures. That's the produce safety guys, and this is where we started. And just a few pictures of them constructing the greenhouse. We have two, it looks like roofs, but it is just one space in the middle. That's what it looked like before we had the grow bed. We put the grow beds in. Literally a lot of blood, sweat, and tears at 90-degree weather when we were putting this together. But I'm so glad that we did it ourselves, because if there's a problem in our system, we know right where to go to fix it. And this is what it ended up looking like at the end. Again, just a few photos of the fish. There's one of the dark tilapia. That's our little nursery bed. That's where I grow the, it doesn't have anything growing. That's when we very first started, but I grow the like basil, and I did have edible flowers, and Confleur here in Paducah was purchasing those from us. Unfortunately, during COVID, they closed, and so I kind of been trying to decide what herbs and things we want to grow in the nursery area there. That's Tyler holding up one of the, that's a romaine, and you can just see the roots. They're just really long and clean and pretty. And there's Steve with another romaine. This is where we grow the kale. This is some of the kale there. This they need something, like soil to hold the plants upright. And so since we don't use dirt, then we have hydroton. That is compressed clay pebbles. So that's what we use in those media beds. And then you can see we have the PVC pipe here, and it has holes in it. And so this system will come on like a flood and drain, and it's set on a timer. So that's the way that we water these plants. And then we keep that turned over with a rake, just like you would your garden. And if you pick it up, it doesn't smell like fish waste or anything. It smells like dirt. And this is a picture when we started, we put together the grow beds, and these little things coming off, those are air stones. So the entire length of the bed is aerated. There's a picture of my dad with the butterhead on one of the rafts. And this, when I said Graffinville was glowing, this is a picture of it at night. It literally was. We had Billy Watkins Road is where we're located, and it does like a little semicircle. And we had people literally driving through like, what is going on? But they've all learned when in the winter we're going to have our lights on. And that's just another view of the greenhouse at night. You can follow us on West Kentucky Aquaponics on Facebook. We have Instagram, and we do have a website, and that is where our online store is. Tyler does a great job of keeping up our Facebook, and it stays pretty active. Our website just kind of stagnant, I guess you would say, just for the general information. But anyway, that concludes my presentation.
I want to thank you so much for coming. And it's cold outside, it's dark, and you know what the other situation is.
Right.
And the snow and ice is coming.
It is.
Yeah, thank heavens not yet. And thanks for everybody coming, and especially the viewers at home. This is Master Gardening. Until next time, good gardening.